Guys, welcome back to this week's video. This week I'm going to be showing you my top 3 3D printing errors that I've experienced over the last few months, and I'm also going to show you how to troubleshoot them. So if you want to see more, stay tuned. Okay, so number 1 is positioning of the nozzle head. This really dictates how your print is going to turn out. If your filament is not coming out properly, then the nozzle may be too close to the print bed. This can cause the filament to grind on the machine, which will not be able to extrude the filament out properly. To solve this issue, you can raise the height of the nozzle slightly. A little goes a long way in this regard. Under the settings, you can go under calibration and pick first layer calibration. This is used to calibrate the distance between the tip of the nozzle and the print surface. The aim is to adjust the nozzle height until the extruded plastic sticks that are going to be printed in a second nicely align to the bed, and you can see that it's being slightly squished. While we're waiting for the bed and filament to heat up properly, you can see the slight indentations that I made by mistake when not leveling the nozzle properly. To set the Z offset, you have to rotate the knob manually to adjust the distance between the nozzle and the bed while the printer is printing in a zigzag pattern. You turn the knob counterclockwise to bring the nozzle closer, and the value will move further away from 0. The value is unique to each printer and may also slightly change with time and use. The first layer calibration being set incorrectly can lead to various issues. With the nozzle too far away from the print surface, you can risk your print not sticking properly, which can result in a blob. On the other side, if you set it too close, you can experience clogging and poor quality prints, or damage to the hardware like I showed you previously. It is therefore important to get this right. I also advise for you to watch the first few layers of your print each time to ensure everything is working properly, because these first few layers determine whether or not you will have a successful print. As you can see here, I have an example of when the nozzle is too high, too low, or just right. You'll note that your nozzle head is positioned correctly when you have an even surface with no gaps, lines, or ridges. So as you can see here, it's looking pretty good. I set my Z offset to -0.300, and I found that this worked for me. But the numeric value depends on the exact position of the pinda sensor, which will be unique to each machine, and the common range is from -0.400 to -1.500. So keep playing around and see what works for you until you get that smooth surface and you're ready to print. So number 2 3D printing issues is the filament not sticking to the bed, and this has been driving me crazy over the last few months because I've had some projects be at 20, 30, 40% completion and then pop, done, broken, not sticking. So these are some tips that I have for building that build plate adhesion. This is an octopus that I've attempted to print a few weeks ago, and at the moment I was struggling to get the filament to stick. I came to the conclusion that the errors that I made were a mix of bad plate adhesion in conjunction with poor supports, which I'll show you how to fix in the next step. Although this is a common issue, through research and trial and error, I have figured out some ways to avoid this from happening. Firstly, you need to make sure your printer is calibrated properly, as we did in the last step. And secondly, you need to make sure that the surface of the bed is clean and that there's no residue on it. My current print method is cleaning the bed with warm water and dish soap and drying it off with some paper towel. Thirdly, I spray the bed with some 70% alcohol, and if you have 90+, that works better, and then putting some glue and get it all over the print bed. I then just spray a little bit more and clean it off with that handy dandy paper towel. This should leave a layer of tackiness that allows the print to stick properly when it's heated up. Recently, I implemented a new step to my routine, and that's incorporating hairspray as an adhesive. And personally, I found it to work extremely well. I don't recommend spraying it directly on the bed because this can cause some damages to the hardware mechanisms. The method that I use is spraying it on a paper towel and wiping it down once it's clean. Additional methods to ensure adhesion include leveling the print bed, adjusting the nozzle height like we did previously. And the third and last final issue that I've been having is uneven layering or print edges bending and warping. And here I'm going to show you how I set up my prints on the PRUSA slicer to ensure that it does not move. It prints properly. Here is the butterfly model that I've been printing in the other screen, and I'm going to show you how I avoid uneven layering and warping of the 3D models when I'm printing. So as you can see, it's flat on the bed, and prior to learning these alterations, I would just print out the model right away without making any changes. And now I see that as a bit risky because it definitely has a higher chance of failing. And before, I thought a failed print every now and again or a few times was normal, but that's definitely not true. It can be avoided. Here I'm just changing the layer height, and that's the exact height of each layer of plastic extruded and cured by the 3D printer. When used properly, this setting will increase your print speed, resolution, and smoothness. As you can see here, the print has a layer height of 0.3, and one of the most common reasons for changing the layer height settings is to increase the print speed. And a larger layer height typically means that the printer doesn't have to print as many layers to achieve the same total height, resulting in a much faster print. The next alteration that I do is the addition of a brim. And this is a layer of material that extends along the print bed from the edges of the 3D print. And this helps to improve bed adhesion and preventing warping, making it easy to remove, and it honestly wastes less material because it doesn't affect the print. It just is a layer around the print. The last thing that I did there was going under the advanced settings and changing the first layer height to 0.8 millimeters. I do this to give the print a sturdy first layer, and it is also advised to reduce the speed of the first layer by 30 to 50% to allow time for the filament to gain contact with the bed and stick. Another quick tip would be to increase the nozzle temperature to promote bed adhesion as well. You could go as high as 220, but anything over that would probably be unnecessary. After making my alterations, I sliced the model, and you can clearly see a nice brim over the model. I found that this method really works for me because the print stays sturdy and in place. Here I'm just going back to the print settings and adding another millimeter of support on the brim just to show you the difference between the 2 millimeters and the 3 millimeters. Since this is a smaller print, it's not necessary to have a larger brim, but if you are creating a project that, let's say, is 10 hours long, you want to make sure it stays in place during the duration of the print. It would be quite devastating if it moved close to completion, which has happened to me also. After this point, you are all ready to export your file and print. I'd like to thank everyone for watching this video, and if you have made it to this point, I hope this video helps if you are new to 3D printing. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment if you like. And next week I'm just going to be showing you how I make molds for candle making, and I am very excited to share that with you, and I'll see you then. Bye!